Alright, imagine this, you're sitting down, ready for yet another video call, but you have to decide which webcam to use. You've got two webcams in front of you, and they're kind of staring at you, making you choose one, and each of them is promising you to make you look the most professional person out there. Today we are putting those two webcams, the OBSBOT and the Insta360, head to head in this mega comparison. Actually, just hot off the press, I just heard from OBSBOT that they're giving 20% off during Black Friday discount, so make sure to check that out. I think both brands are doing Black Friday discounts, but 20% off, and I think there's a 5% extra if you use the discount code in my description as well, so definitely worth checking out. By the end of this video, I hope that you know which one's got that real magic, you know, for your video calls. Based on my experience, one of these is about to become your best friend when it comes to online meetings. On one side, we've got the OBSBOT with two very strong contenders here, the Tiny 2 Lite, which might be called light, but is packing quite a lot more than, you know, the average webcam, and the Meet 2, this cute little thing here, which is as straightforward as it gets. Both of these are built to make you look like you're, you know, coming to have your own live from a professional studio in Hollywood. Honestly, when I'm on my work calls on my 9-to-5 job with these cameras, you know, I've lost count of how many people, you know, they say, Alex, are you using a professional camera setup now? What's going on here? And that's even when I'm not using any lighting at all. Right now I've got professional lighting here, but in my work calls, it's really, you know, boring, no studio lights whatsoever. And then we've got the Insta360 lineup, the Link 2 and the budget-friendly Link 2C. Not a bad duo, I reviewed them in the channel before, but let's just say, I think the OBSBOT got a few tricks up its sleeve here. Starting out with the flagship comparison, the OBSBOT Tiny 2 Lite versus the Insta360 Link 2. Right away, the OBSBOT sensor, despite it being the same size and the same aperture here, to me anyway, seems to give a bit of an edge here, especially if you're calling in from a room that isn't as bright as the midday sun or without any professional lighting. Check this out, OBSBOT is absolutely smashing here in low light, picking up every detail. That to me is a big difference. I can read pretty much every word on that sign. On the Insta360, yeah, that sign is completely out of focus and just unreadable. Just in terms of image quality as well, when you look in the darker areas of this image, you know, where, for example, where my helmet is here, there's a lot more detail on the OBSBOT camera. I can read pretty much every word in there, whereas the Insta360, not only it seems to be more overexposed in the highlights, but yeah, I mean, even if the YouTube sign that I showed earlier, you can't read anything in here. I mean, I've been in meetings where people genuinely thought, like I said, you know, that I've upgraded my lighting setup, and I'm just sat there thinking, no, that's just my webcam, you know. Insta360 on the other hand does all right? And like I said in my previous videos, very good to excellent in fact, but when it comes to low light, there's a clear difference in here. It's almost like someone dimmed the light a little bit too far on the Insta360. It's good, but it's not quite there. There are some settings that you can adjust and fiddle with it a little bit, but you know, it's quite hard to do that. Plus, you know, when you go to the trouble of investing on a 4K webcam, you just want it to be working like out of the box, right? The last thing you want is grainy shadows and you being in a rush trying to adjust settings, you know? You may not have that issue where you are, but over here in the UK, especially in winter months, it gets dark really quickly. So low light performance is really important for me. OBSBOT, as you can see here, is making you look as crisp as anything, even in less than ideal lighting. For a more budget-friendly option, let's have a look at the OBSBOT Meet 2 versus the Insta360 Link 2C. The main difference here is the fact that they don't have the, you know, what their bigger brothers have, which is the gimbal. Both are excellent when it comes to the tracking as well. It's quite deceptive actually how it works, but it's very similar to Apple's Center Stage if you used that on the iPad, for example. You know, because it's a 4K image, it's able to crop and almost like, you know, give you the illusion that it's following you around. Both of these are very, you know, wallet-friendly options, but when it comes to performance, OBSBOT again still shines slightly better for me here, especially in those low light situations. Even in this smaller version, the OBSBOT Meet 2 hoses on in low light. One of the things that gets people asking me about, you know, whether I'm using a professional camera or not in my meetings is the bokeh effect. Now, both cameras have this effect, but one of them for me feels a little bit more natural. This is the image now without any bokeh effect. Let's turn that on. So the default setting to me is a little bit too aggressive. It's almost like a Microsoft Teams, and I mentioned this in my previous review. You can see around my head here, you know, there's quite a lot of fuzziness going on. So you should really turn the intensity down, and I found, I think, yeah, 20% down gets to, I think, you know, comparable to the OBSBOT camera. And on the OBSBOT, similar, keep it to 1 or 2 out of 8. Is a good number to leave it on. There you go. So that's a little bit natural, and you can see here on the on the lights in the background that it looks fairly nice, doesn't look as good as a professional camera, but it's pretty close. I think both cameras would struggle if you have that slider, all the way up. But I think the Insta360 struggle a little bit more. You have to kind of fine tune it a little bit more, because otherwise you start to see this really horrible things on the side of your head, which is a giveaway really. It's almost like a Microsoft Teams effect. It looks really fake. The OBSBOT also has that problem if you have it, really high up, but I think out of the box, the first setting that's in there is setting 1. It's pretty much good to go, and it looks very natural. It's never gonna look exactly like a camera with a proper lens, right? I mean, these things are thousands of pounds, but it's really good, right? When you consider that these are so much cheaper than a camera. A quick word on audio, and this one is simple. OBSBOT, for me, the mics actually make you sound clear, cutting down the background noise as well. Both have this feature. The Insta360 does okay and does have different modes, but for me, OBSBOT, again, without trying too hard, is a little bit of a step ahead here, sounding less digital and just more natural to me. But let me know what you thought as well, because audio can be quite, subjective. Here's a little piece that I wrote, well, AI wrote, about the perils of online meeting. Excuse me, I think you're muted, they said it with a sigh. And your video's frozen, just one beady eye. I fiddle with buttons, I scramble in fear as I mutter, no, I'm actually here. Then comes that haunting phrase that we know all too well. Is your audio on? Are you under a spell? Let me know what you thought though, which one of these cameras made me sound better. Design-wise, the OBSBOT keeps things, fuss-free, but very sleek as well, so it doesn't look out of place on your desk. Insta360 can look a bit sleeker as well, but in my book, function is gonna be better than being flashy every time. I just want something that works really well. And OBSBOT's got that solid feel. It doesn't feel cheap or plasticky or anything like that. And I love the fact that you don't need a tripod for vertical mode, but more on that in just a bit. AI tracking is another game changer with OBSBOT. Actually, with all these brand new webcams here. I loved this with the Tiny 2 review that I did last year. It was already great, and it's even better now. When you're moving around, whether it's to grab your coffee or show something on your desk, OBSBOT will keep you framed like it's someone is actually paying attention, and it doesn't feel jerky. Sometimes this feature can feel like too abrupt when it's following you, but it's all very easy to control as well with gestures, voice commands, or via the app. There you are. Okay. Eventually found me, but the Insta360, watch this. It kept losing track of when I was moving. In general, it does a good job at tracking, but whenever you go behind an object or you move slightly too far, I'm talking 2.5 meters, maybe 3 meters, it really struggles. It tries to zoom into you, and then it kind of very easily loses track of you. I've done a 360 and the OBSBOT is the only one that tracked me all the way back. Unbelievable. And desk mode with OBSBOT, it's spot on every time. Insta360 does a good job here as well, but it's almost like, it gets there eventually, but it looks slightly more distorted to me when when he's looking down. It's doing a good job, it's going to be good enough for a lot of people. And I do like the whiteboard mode as well. So you can imagine yourself being on a call, like I'm showing you here, and going to grab something or showing your colleagues a presentation. Or it could be like a live stream, right? If you're doing something like, I don't know, showing how to follow a recipe online, or doing gaming, or whatever it might be. It's really cool to have the webcam sort of casually follows you around, no glitches. It kind of takes your mind away a little bit. Once you get used to it, it's almost like you've got your own little cameraman following you. And to me, when it comes to the quality of the tracking, I think the tracking on the OBSBOT on both cameras does feel a little bit smoother for me, even after trying different tracking speeds on both cameras. For those out there who like recording for social media, this is a much easier way to do it. We're just simply flipping the camera manually, and it will go straight into this vertical mode for Instagram, TikTok, and things like that. Honestly, it's as if they knew we'd be turning everything vertical these days. Insta360, it's possible to do that as well, but it's a bit of a faff. You need a tripod, and you have to purchase it separately. I happen to like this tripod because it allows me to do other things with this, and I also like the fact that I can extend this and have the camera at my eye level. I prefer to have that. Some people don't like it, some people like it on top of the laptop. But that looking directly into people's eyes framing, for me, is something that I like. But if you're not bothered about that, you can save a bit of money as well with the OBSBOT cameras. It's gonna look great in vertical or horizontal mode without any tripods. So if you just want a webcam that won't let you down, whether it's lighting, audio, or just pure ease of use, OBSBOT is where it's at for me. Whether it's the Tiny 2 Lite or the Meet 2, you're getting a solid performance at a decent price as well. And both of these options from OBSBOT will make it look good and sound the part as well. If you want to have a look, there's links in the description as well. And I've got a handy QR code here for anyone watching this on a big screen. And thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you soon.